Political protests by students in Bangladesh have apparently provoked more than 150 police shootings thus far and arrests in excess of 3,000. The protests were in response to changes in a civil service quota system in the country. For more on all of that, we go to Dhaka, Bangladesh, to speak with Cynthia McKinney, the former Georgia Congress member, who is on the faculty of the Political Science Department of North-South University in Dhaka. She has been there since the protests began.
There were serious protests going on in the country. And when I say country, I don't mean Dhaka City, I mean the entire country. From the extreme north to the extreme south, students were organized and they were protesting the quota reform, for a quota reform in what is now known as the quota reform movement. So basically what that means is that there were employment set-asides for the freedom fighters. And those are the people who contributed to the birth of the country when it, with the help of India and Israel, decided to separate from Pakistan. So that would have been in 1971. So India sent the troops, Israel sent the weapons, and that is how Pakistan was balkanized, because before Bangladesh was a independent state, it was a part of Pakistan. Pakistan consisted of two parts. We can thank the British for this. Pakistan was East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, and then West Pakistan, which is now Pakistan. And so that was the movement that took place, and the war, indeed it was a war, took place in 1971. So as a result of the balkanization of Pakistan and the creation of the state of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, you had the people who fought for that, and they were lauded as freedom fighters. After that, there was a recognition that women were underrepresented in access to jobs and power, and so then there was an additional set-aside made for women. And then, because of the lack of opportunity in the indigenous parts of the country, which is up in the mountains, there was an indigenous set-aside. And then you had a disability set-aside, and then you had a transgender set-aside. And so basically, you had all of these different set-asides, and what that meant was that the economy was structured around remittances. So that encouraged people to go outside of Bangladesh to get a good paying job. And ultimately, the students want opportunity to help to create a modern state of Bangladesh, of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. And you can't do that if you have to leave and go outside of the country in order to get a job. And then the country relies on this kind of convoluted structure for the remittances, and the political system relies on the best and the brightest leaving, so that under this structure of all of these different quotas, that there's very little opportunity for the best and the brightest students inside Bangladesh. They're forced to leave, They leave, they send money home, and the state then flourishes as a result of the remittances. And this sort of perverse situation is deemed to be normal and is lauded by the political leadership because it benefits from not having to compete with the best and the brightest students for political positions, and it benefits because it receives the remittances, a portion of the remittances that are sent home every month for the upkeep of the now former students, but they are also sort of, workers in a strange land. And so if you go anywhere in Asia, you can see Bangladeshis, they're recognizable, and you can see them, and they're building other countries. You can see them in Dubai, you can see them in Doha, you can see them in other countries that are creating infrastructure for future development. But what you won't see is them working to apply their mental capacity and their brawn, because it's both brains and brawn that are exported. You won't see them spending that for the development of Bangladesh, and it's truly a pity. So this is sort of like a reverse globalization movement, you could say, because the students don't want to leave and go to another country. They don't want to leave their families, their communities. They don't want to leave their country because it's almost like consigning their country to a second-class kind of development model where they are not able to contribute, but they can go and they can work at Google, and they can go and they can work at Apple in Silicon Valley, but they can't create their own Silicon Valley right here in Bangladesh, and that is what they would want to do. I actually participated in a conference in Mexico City that was basically along these same lines, where you had people in Mexico who were saying, we don't want to go to the United States and be your lawn keepers. We don't want to go to the U.S. and be your nannies. We want to stay here, and we want to build Mexico. But the structure, the neoliberal structure of the world, actually the global economy, dictates that it is the predator state of the United States that's able to go in and dictate who their president is going to be, or who their president is not going to be, and then dictate that if you want to drink water, then Coca-Cola can provide you your water. You don't have to have your own Mexican water system, because Coca-Cola is perfectly capable of doing that. And then, of course, within the Mexican structure, you have the great, huge, large Spanish corporations, because they were colonies of Spain, whereas here in Bangladesh, because it was a colony of Britain, then you have the great British companies like Unilever here providing all of the needs of the people, instead of them being able to craft solutions for themselves. And so all of this can still be put down to the presence of neocolonialism. We've not truly escaped the colonial economies that were constructed hundreds of years ago. And Bangladesh is hopefully it's in the death throes of the neo-colonial economy and its place in the neoliberal world, and throwing those off in favor of its own development route.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Cynthia McKinney.
Okay.
For KPFK, I'm Don DeBar.